Welcome back to Old Charles, your channel for rare coins, history, and true value. Today we're diving deep into one of the most collected coins in American history, the 1974 Kennedy half dollar. If you have one of these coins at home, you might be holding more than just 50 cents. It could be worth a lot more depending on its condition and rarity. So stick with me till the end, because we'll uncover the coin's history, design, varieties, and its value today. The Kennedy half dollar was first introduced in 1964, just months after the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy. It was created as a way to honor the late president and quickly became one of the most popular coins in American history, WY 1974. The coin was already 10 years into production. However, unlike the very first issues of 1964, which were 90% silver, the 1974 Kennedy half dollar was made of a copper-nickel clad composition, 91.67% copper and 8.33% nickel. The coin was struck at 3 different mints in 1974 Philadelphia, mint ***, no mint mark. Denver mint ***, with the D mint mark. San Francisco mint ***, with the S mint mark, where proof coins were made for collectors. These coins were not only used in circulation, but also saved heavily by collectors, which means that many high-grade examples still exist today. On the obverse side, we see the portrait of President John F. Kennedy, designed by Gilroy Roberts. The word Liberty surrounds the top, and the date, 1974, appears below the bust. The famous American motto, "In God We Trust," is split across Kennedy's neck and chest. That on the reverse, designed by Frank Gasparo, is the iconic presidential seal, an eagle with a shield, clutching an olive branch and arrows, surrounded by a circle of stars, and the words United States of America, half dollar. This patriotic design remains one of the most recognizable in U.S. coinage. Now, let's talk about something every collector loves: errors and varieties. The most famous error related to the Kennedy half dollar is actually the 1974 D double die obverse. In this variety, you can see doubling on the word trust and sometimes on other parts of the obverse lettering. These double die coins are rare and can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars in high grades. Another variety worth looking for is the 1974 S-proof coin. Proofs were struck with special polished dies and sold to collectors in sets. These coins are known for their mirror-like finish and sharp details, making them very desirable. Like all collectible coins, the value of a 1974 Kennedy half dollar depends heavily on its condition or grade. If you have a 1974 half dollar that has been used in everyday commerce, its value is generally close to 50 cents to $1. These are common and easy to find. A coin that never entered circulation and still has its mint luster can be worth between $3 to $10, depending on the mint mark. Coins graded MS-65 and higher by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC can bring in $25 to $50 or more a 1974 S-proof half dollar. Depending on whether it's a standard proof or a deep cameo, can range from $5 to $20 or more. These are the real treasures. In mint state condition, they can sell for anywhere between $300 to over $1,000 at auctions. Rare examples in superb condition have even reached higher values. So, what should you do if you have a 1974 half dollar one? Check the mint mark. Look for the small d or s below Kennedy's neck point too. Inspect for errors, especially doubling on the obverse lettering point 3. Check the condition. The less wear, the higher the value point 4. Consider grading. If you think your coin is in exceptional condition or has an error, getting it graded can unlock its full potential value. To sum it up, while most 1974 Kennedy half dollars are worth their face value or just a little more, special varieties, proof coins, and high-grade examples can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. So next time you come across a 1974 half dollar, don't just toss it aside. Take a closer look. It might just be a hidden treasure. The story of the 1974 Kennedy half dollar doesn't begin in 1974. It actually stretches back to the early 1960s and even further into the traditions of American coinage. In November 1963, the United States was shaken by the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy in Dallas, Texas. The nation was in mourning, and almost immediately, there was a call from both the American public and government officials to honor Kennedy's memory in a permanent way. The U.S. Mint and Congress agreed that Kennedy's portrait should appear on a coin. But which coin? After much debate, it was decided to replace the Franklin half-dollar, which had been in circulation since 1948. This decision was made in part because the half-dollar denomination was less commonly used in everyday commerce compared to the penny, nickel, dime, or quarter, making it a respectful tribute without disrupting coinage too much. The first Kennedy half-dollar was struck in early 1964, just a few months after Kennedy's death. It was designed by Gilroy Roberts, obverse, and Frank Gasparo, reverse. These first coins were minted in 90% silver, and the public rushed to get them. In fact, many people hoarded them as keepsakes rather than spending them, which meant that half-dollars quickly became scarce in circulation. By 1965, due to rising silver prices, the U.S. Mint reduced the silver content of the half-dollar to 40%, and by 1971, silver was removed entirely from circulation coins, leaving a copper-nickel-clad composition. This change was significant because it reflected the economic challenges of the time. Silver was becoming too expensive to use in common coinage. Now, let's zoom into 1974 specifically. The early 1970s were a turbulent time in American history. The nation was dealing with the aftermath of the Vietnam War, the Watergate scandal, and an uncertain economy. Despite these challenges, the Kennedy half-dollar remained a symbol of national pride and remembrance of a beloved president. In 1974, the Mint continued producing the half-dollar in large numbers. However, unlike earlier years, the demand for half-dollars in circulation was declining. Many Americans simply didn't use 50-cent pieces in everyday life anymore. Instead, these coins were more often kept by collectors, given as gifts, or used in casinos and vending machines. This year also produced some of the most talked-about varieties and errors, such as the 1974 Deep Double Die Obverse, which became a sought-after collectible. At the same time, the San Francisco Mint struck proof coins for collectors, keeping the tradition alive for numismatists who wanted high-quality examples. The 1974 Kennedy half-dollar represents a fascinating moment in American coinage. It was made during a period when silver had been fully removed from circulating halves. It was struck in large numbers, but saw limited real-world use. It carried forward the enduring legacy of John F. Kennedy, more than a decade after his death. For collectors, the 1974 issue serves as both a nostalgic piece of 1970s history and a continuation of one of America's most iconic coin series. When it comes to coin collecting, condition is everything. Two coins from the exact same year and mint can have completely different values, depending on how much where they've experienced and how well they've been preserved. Let's break down what that means for the 1974 Kennedy half-dollar. The most 1974 half-dollars you'll come across have been in circulation. That means they've been passed from hand to hand, spent in stores, dropped in change jars, or even used in casinos. These coins usually show noticeable where Kennedy's hair loses its fine detail. The cheek and jawline appear flat and smooth. The eagle on the reverse loses feather definition. Luster, or the coin's natural shine, is usually gone. In this condition, most 1974 half-dollars are worth only face value, about 50 cents to $1, since they're so common. Still, some collectors enjoy keeping circulated examples, especially if they're part of a full date and mint mark. The next step up is what collectors call about uncirculated. These coins may have the slightest touch of wear, often visible only on the highest points of Kennedy's hair or the eagle's wings. However, they still retain much of their original mint luster. AU coins are more attractive to collectors because they look close to new. In this condition, a 1974 half-dollar might fetch between $2 and $4. Now, we get to the exciting part. Mint state coins. These are coins that never entered circulation. They were either saved directly from the mint or preserved carefully over time. They show no wear at all, although they may still have tiny contact marks from the minting process or from being stored in bags with other coins. The mint state grades are divided further average uncirculated, with many marks or dull luster, worth about $3 to $6. Attractive coins with good luster and fewer marks, worth around $8 to $15. Bright, sharp, and eye-catching. These coins have great luster and strong detail. Values jump to $20 to $40. That very scarce for 1974. At this level, only a few coins survive with nearly perfect surfaces. These could be worth $100 to several hundred dollars ***, depending on the grade and demand at auction. That we also need to mention the 1974 S-proof $50, made at the San Francisco Mint. Proofs were not intended for circulation. They were sold in special sets for collectors. They're easy to identify because of their mirror-like background and frosted designs. These are spectacular coins with sharp contrast between frosted designs and mirror fields. At this level, they can be worth $20 to $50 plus. Condition also plays a huge role in the value of error coins like the famous 1974 D-double die obverse. A circulated example might bring $100 to $200, while a mint state example can command $500 to $1,000 or more. If graded MS65 or higher, the value can skyrocket even further because collectors prize sharp, high-quality errors. Collectors should also remember that how you store your coins makes a big difference. Coins kept in cardboard holders, plastic flips, or professional slabs tend to maintain their condition better than those tossed into jars or bags. Exposure to moisture or chemicals can cause spotting, discoloration, or tarnish, which lowers value. In short, the 1974 Kennedy $50 value depends on condition more than anything else. While a worn example might only be worth pocket change, a high-grade mint state or proof coin, especially with an error, can bring serious money.